Hello and welcome back, Zingers. Coming at you with another video here today. I'm your host, Ryan Faluna. I'm here going to introduce Andrew Begu and also bring in Steve Orr in. And today we are going to talk about analyst ratings. I get asked all the time about analyst ratings, how to do it, what do they mean? So today we are going to answer all of those questions. We've got Steve here and we've got our analyst ratings expert, Andrew, here. So Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about this? Tell us why they're important.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me today. Quite easily, analyst ratings are people that are within the banking system or financial system that are pretty much clued into that sector. They usually have maybe one person that is the analyst for that stock or that sector. So let's say, for example, JP Morgan has an analyst for, say, NVIDIA, or for the software sector. And so what's important about that is they are clued in, and they are those people that literally only focus on one thing. Whereas as traders, we're focused on several things. We're saying several companies, news all day long, stocks. So they can be really a little bit annoying to find that one specific stock. Plus, they pretty much are going to write out their thesis. And I always say, what is their thesis for buying or selling that stock? There's several different weightings they have, and they have stock prices, which is where Benzinga comes in. We actually carry all those analyst ratings, and we put it into our system. And today we have Andrew Begu with us. He is our analyst guy here at Benzinga. So welcome, Andrew.
Hey, what's up, Steve and Ryan? Great to be here, guys. It's a little cold here in Chicago, but that's all right. We're all smiling. We're all ready to go.
That's right.
All right. Well, I have my air conditioner on here in Florida, so I understand. So, Andrew, I think that the Benzingers need to know a little bit about yourself. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started at Benzinga and in the analyst ratings sector yourself, and how to do it, actually.
Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. So I got started investing when I was 19 years old. I was a political science major in college, read a book called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, became extremely obsessed with investing and just like the whole storytelling of how to find like a business, how to judge a business, as well as like some of the emotional and fundamental components that go into that. So I've been investing since I've been 19 years old. I'm almost 30 here in like 2 months. So it's been about 10 years. And I've learned a lot over the years. And I've been working at Benzinga for a little bit over a year. I am director of analyst research here. So every single morning at Benzinga, I wake up at 5 in the morning Central Time. Me and my colleague, Vivek, we work on inputting all of the ratings into our calendar and to our Benzinga Pro feed.
Very cool.
Perfect. So you are the perfect guy to explain this next section to us. I could not be more excited than this. So, so I've got a blank workspace here for Benzinga Pro. What should I set up? How should I set this up?
Okay, so there's a couple things. So usually what I like to do is have a couple of different newsfeed newsfeed planes like in my screen. So I like setting up 2 windows in the same screen, so they're side by side, just how you have right now. So once you've done that, you want to click on that sources button. Sources, perfect. You got Benzinga signals, Benzinga wire. That's awesome. So the next thing you want to do in order to specifically see analyst ratings is click on that category button there on the left and click analyst ratings. Okay. So now once you've done that, you'll just click the done button. And you can kind of see all of the analyst information that we have up on our screen as of right now. So right now on our window on the left, we have analyst ratings, we have stories from Benzinga, and we also have color headlines, which I'll go through in a moment. But for now,
and just to recap, sorry to cut you off there, just to recap, on the newsfeed on the left here, this is just the analyst ratings calendar, and I also added in the press release source. Yep. Now on the newsfeed on the right, we have the same type of deal. We have the Benzinga signals and the Benzinga wire sources. Do we need to do anything to this right newsfeed, or is this just kind of a comparison newsfeed?
It's just kind of a comparison, and you can kind of set it up how you like setting it up. So one thing I like to do just personally, and of course every user is different depending on what type of trader or investor they are, or just how they like inputting the news in general, is I like to have my news on one feed, and then I like to have the analyst ratings on the other feed just separately. So I can kind of see all the news that's happening during the day, as well to see if analysts have any commentary on it. That's just my personal preference.
Perfect. No, actually, I'm very, very similar to that, and that's exactly why I was asking. So that's exactly what we have here. On the left-hand side, we've got the news feed filtered for analyst ratings, and on the right-hand side, you have that generic news feed so that you can see all of the news. Perfect. That's just what I wanted to make sure.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, so there's also like one other way that you can like look at analyst ratings here on Benzinga Pro. If you look on the left-hand side of your screen there, Ryan, you'll see a calendar button.
Absolutely.
So you can click that. You can make it. You can pop it into its own separate window or have it part of that other setup you currently had. Either way works great. So right here, if you just want like a simpler way to like look at like the analyst changes that we have up throughout the day, no color, no nothing, just straight up. What did the firms say? And what did the firm say? Either it's an upgrade, downgrade, or initiation, or price target change. And in front of you, you have all that information that we've accumulated so far throughout the morning today.
Awesome. And just really quickly, so what I did here was I loaded up the calendar and it had actually defaulted to earnings. So I clicked on this drop down here at the top, and analyst ratings is the first one in the option. So that's what I went ahead and checked. And as Andrew mentioned, now you have a nice clean layout of all of these different data points for analyst ratings. The other thing to pay attention to here real quick before I turn this back over to Andrew is that it also has a date modifier. So that this could be very important depending on when the analyst rating was actually issued or what day you're actually searching for. Obviously, it's going to default to the current day, which is today. So I've got today's date and analyst ratings, and it's showing you all of the corresponding ratings beneath that. So awesome. So what's the next step, Andrew?
Okay, so from here, you can also like set up like different watch lists in case you have like specific things that you want to look at. You can notice on this screen you have in front of you, Ryan, that you have like that watch list button.
Yep.
So if you click on that, like you've done, you can figure out like different filters and like different ways to like look at specific ratings.
So so on my like main watch list, if I click on this and then I click done, this is going to show me all of the analyst ratings for any of the stocks on my watch list?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, of course, if I went ahead and clicked on that and it doesn't have that date in there, let me go ahead and set that to today. Oh, well, actually, this has a different date range. Here we go. Okay, so no, I'm sorry, I just needed to put it back to today. So here you go. You've got two examples, Tesla and QCOM, both on my watch list, and here we are. It's showing me only the analyst ratings for the stock that I have on my watch list. That is awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's a really good tip for filtering it out. Now, the other thing is if I remove this watch list filter, okay, so if I get rid of that, now I'm pretty sure that I can also search just for an individual ticker. So the search bar, just like it is in the newsfeed, is also available in the calendar. And then if you search any individual stock, sure enough, you will see all of the different analyst ratings for that stock. This will obviously change the date and the time here in the left-hand column, but you can get all of that information in one area. This is a really awesome way to view this data. This is fantastic.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And like the nice thing is what me and Steven are about to discuss a little bit more is it's really nice to see what the analysts have like done with the stock, whether it's like an upgrade, a downgrade, initiation, a price target change. But something we're really pushing here at Benzinga and on Benzinga Pro is to tell people why they're doing what they're doing. So we talk, and that has to do with analyst color.
That is awesome. I am definitely looking. I actually wonder that all the time myself. Why is this rating changed? Why is this an outperform? Why did they choose today to do this? Why did they do this after earnings instead of ahead of earnings? All of those little things play into that. That's awesome that you guys are going to cover that. So is that next on the docket here, Steve and Andrew? You guys going to give us some examples?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think the first example we're going to look at is McDonald's.
So I'm going to go ahead and type in MCD here at the top, select McDonald's from the dropdown, and now I'm going to get all of the 8 analyst ratings for McDonald's.
So right here, you can see all the analyst ratings that have taken place for McDonald's. And as I'm sure most of our users are aware, they did have earnings and there was some news on McDonald's regarding their CEO last week. So on this page, it's awesome. You can see all the ratings changes laid out by the different analysts that we cover here at Benzinga. And if you actually go back to the news feed, you'll be able to see some reasons for why the analysts did what they did for McDonald's.
So what I did was I clicked on the workspace that had the 2 news feeds set up that we set up at the beginning of the video. And then in the left-hand one, which is just for analyst ratings, I'm going to do the same thing I did in the calendar. I'm simply going to type in MCD, and I'm going to filter these results by McDonald's. So here you go. Here are those filtered results.
Yep. So Go ahead,
And
Steven.
also, Ryan, I'll tell you that I also filter sometimes the news feed with the word analyst too. So when you have MCD now, also type in the keyword analyst, and all the analyst ratings will come up throughout the back of the news feed.
Aha, there you go. Nice. Adding some more
Bravo.
pro tips to it. I love it. Love it.
Bravo, bravo. So now if we kind of want to just like get into some of the color on McDonald's the last like couple weeks, I'm sure like Steve and myself kind of walk you guys through like why it's very, very important. So obviously we want to know like what an analyst did. Price target change, upgrade, downgrade. But then the next important thing, like we alluded earlier, is, well, why? What really changed? And what we're working on here at Benzinga is trying to summarize that information from analyst notes that I myself read every single morning into quick and concise reasons so that our users can read over this very, very quickly and have a very easy understanding for what analysts thought of a company. And this we have up on our screen now is McDonald's.
And so, Andrew, tell us how you cherry picked that section to pull out, to create that color for Benzinga Wire.
Yeah, so what I do every single morning, in addition to like doing the ratings, entering them into our calendar, into the pro feed, is I also read over a lot of notes. I mean, a lot of notes. I'm reading through a note. I try to gather the analyst's quick point that so a user can read it, they can understand like, well, why did this person think this? Not necessarily just like information about their model, which is great and certainly like worthwhile for certain users. I just want like a quick snapshot overview of what an analyst thinks so that a user can quickly read over headlines and get a quick take for like what the analyst actually thought. So if you look here, if we go over like November 4th, we can see like lots of different color for McDonald's. We have like credit, we have at 6/19/51, we'll start there at the bottom, which is Credit Suisse, for example. So after McDonald's had earnings and they had information about their new CEO, Credit Suisse outperformed McDonald's, maintained their $230 target, and they viewed a pullback in the stock as a buying opportunity. So that's great, but like what else did Credit Suisse have to say? So Credit Suisse also said the company has a talented bench. We expect management and the board have a like-minded strategy, and we view the momentum as sustainable despite Easterbrook's departure. Easterbrook was the CEO. So basically from Credit Suisse's note, which is multiple pages, you can kind of gather that they think everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so this is not a stock that I follow. And here in your example, after just reading those two, it seems like Credit Suisse is going to say, this Easterbrook leaving isn't that big of a deal. Did I read through that color correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And now I noticed that there are other analyst firms that have color here. Do you just try to give like as many as you can, or do you pick the ones that are the best, or how does that work?
So it's sort of a combination of both, depending on how much time we have in the morning. So I do like to get as many as we can, especially for bigger names like McDonald's. We're going to go over Expedia and like Under Armour in a moment, just so that our users can just get a quick sense. Because when a stock like McDonald's, I'm sure Steven can elaborate a little bit more, goes down like, what was that, like 3 or 4%, like at least in the after hours trading. Yep. I'm sure that most of our users kind of would want to know, like, well, why? What did the analysts think? Was there a patterns like any of their behaviors? So I try to do in the morning is quickly like read over these notes and just try to pull out some valuable nuggets from the analysts because they do a really, really good job.
And, just to add on to that, so here's a great example. So we already talked about Credit Suisse, but I was reading the one right here above it from UBS, and they say something very similar. We do not expect significant changes to strategy over the near or medium term. So that sounds to me like they're kind of reiterating the same point that Credit Suisse was earlier, that Easterbrook leaving is not the end of the world. And perhaps that reaction that you were mentioning in the after hours is a little bit overdone or a little bit premature even.
Exactly.
One of the things that I know about working on Wall Street, I can also tell you that every analyst in a certain sector, they all know each other, right? The JP Morgan guy, the girl over at Credit Suisse, they all know each other. And so you'll normally see them moving in tandem together. One of the things that I do, Ryan and Andrew, is I will sort the analyst ratings calendar by upgrades and downgrades. And I want to see how they're lumped together. So how many greens and how many reds are together. So if you type in MCD, you click on where the date is. For me, I would do the last month, right? You can look down there and then you can see all of the last month on MCD. So if you, not all, but if you click on the date, Ryan, calendar date, there you go. No,
oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Steve.
And then go to the trailing 30 days. That's what we're looking for. and then you can now sort them by the action on the security. And you can see that they got one upgrade, yet two downgrades, and the rest were maintained. So the theory there is that, as you said, Andrew, that they've all been saying Easterbrook's not going to hurt the stock too much. So when you have Longbow upgrading them and Piper Jaffray downgrading them, they kind of cancel each other out. So right there's your answer, right? There's not much movement after the big movement of the first of Easterbrook leaving.
That's awesome. So that's a really great example, and I like that we are able to use both the calendar and the news feed. Did you have any other examples that you were going to go through?
Yeah, so another example I wanted us to look through, kind of actually a similar story, is Under Armour. So
okay, and should I start with the calendar and the same date range?
Sure, yeah, you can do that.
So I believe Under Armour is UAA. Yes, it is.
Yep.
And then we're going to do the trailing 30 days here.
Yep.
All right, and we have it sorted by security, so the downgrade is first.
Yep. So just kind of, as like Stephen pointed out earlier, like this is a really good way to get like a quick screenshot of like what analysts think. So as you can see here, there was one downgrade, and it looks like the rest of the analysts were either maintains or reinstates whatever their prior rating was. And there, it looks like if you look on this page, there were some lowered price targets as well. So this is awesome. This is a great start, but something else that's really, really important, like we've been saying earlier, is okay, like why? Like what were their actual thoughts around Under Armour, the company, and the CEO leaving? Will that really matter to their business, and like why or why not?
Okay, awesome. And in this particular case here, one of the other things that you can do is if you do put it in the trailing 30 days, like Steve had suggested, you can then also click date and actually filter this by the date. So I actually have the most recent here within the past trailing 30 days, and that is the reinstate that Andrew touched on here with the outperform rating. So great. So should we do the same thing in the news feed to check out the color for UAA?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's flip back over here. I'm going to go ahead and delete the search terms in the left-hand newsfeed, then type UAA in there. And here we go.
Okay, so if you scroll down a little bit there, it's like November 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll all the way to the bottom. So how we kind of set up this page is, first, like when I enter an analyst rating, like for KeyBank, for example, we see there they maintained their overweight on Under Armour and they lowered their price target to 23. Okay, so when I enter in color for a company like Under Armour, I want to put an update so that in front of the color, so users are aware that we've entered the rating into our system, and here's some reasoning behind what KeyBank thought, like why they did what they did. So it looks like they lowered their price target from 30 to 23, and in their research report, they noted basically turnarounds aren't linear, but sales growth remains elusive. Footwear was minus 12%, which was particularly noteworthy, and competitor innovation levels remain very high. They also said the unknown scope of an SEC investigation is likely to be a headwind to the stock in the near term. So basically they're saying, looks like there's competition, and obviously, I'm sure as our users are aware, there was that inquiry from the SEC that I think got disclosed from a 2017 investigation, right, Stephen? I think it was from 2017. Okay, so and when you look at this, I want to give users what KeyBank thinks and what all of our other contacts think about a stock. So I comb through the report and I try to just grab some nuggets, and those were a couple of nuggets that I found for Under Armour from KeyBank. And if you look above for some of our other ones, we have others as well. And by reading through, you kind of get a theme.
And you know what else I noticed here, which is great, is our news desk has actually applied some sentiment indicators in some cases to some of these reports. So you had actually just touched on the KeyBank one, and then you touched on the KeyBank color. And then here we go. The next post above that is the Baird downgrade of Under Armour, and you can see that it's got a 2-carat down sentiment indicator, which was assigned by the news desk. So there's almost as if there's multiple data points here giving you a reason for some of these moves and trying to give you some more information around what's going on with this particular company. So this is really great. And I can see actually on this particular day that you mentioned, Andrew, there are a lot of color updates here.
Exactly. Because all we want to do here at Benzinga is make the information really, really easy to read and have it very, very simple to look at in your setup. So like you said, you can see really, really quickly by just glancing at this for half a second, it looks like there was only one actual downgrade of Under Armour on that day from notes that we had from Baird. Then if you look up, you also have the highlights. Okay, Baird, what are they? They downgraded Under Armour saying that we are highly disappointed to step to the sideline for what we believe can be a compelling multi-year growth story. And they also continued, while our fundamental thesis remains mostly intact following the Q3 update, we would rather revisit the story once we have a better handle on potential investigation and distraction risks. Okay, so basically you can read that and understand that Baird is stepping to the sidelines until there's some more clarity around that SEC investigation for Under Armour.
It's great because in addition to them stepping to the sidelines, we know why they're stepping to the sidelines now. You may agree with that, you may disagree with that, but at least now you've got that data point for why. Sorry if I cut you off there, Steve. Go ahead.
You're fine. And for me, as a trader, I don't necessarily just always want to see the upgrades and the downgrades. I also want to see price movements and their movements, their price targets changing too as well. How often do you see price targets being moved by big analysts?
Usually when there's significant events like earning or an event like we're talking here with like an SEC investigation, there usually is a lot of like price movement and like price activity changes around like big notable events.
And for as a trader, what percentages of price targets are you looking for? 10, 15%, 2%?
Well, what I'm trying to do is capture just as many of them as I possibly can in the morning. I do my best. So I do work with one other person and have about 4 or 5 cups of coffee by 10 or 11 a.m. So I do my best to read through all these and grab as many as I can for our users. And like I said earlier, try to provide a little bit of color if I can.
Right. And so in the last few weeks, what's the biggest one you've seen, the big move that you put in?
So, I mean, like a big one, like we just touched on, we touched on McDonald's and Under Armour, which were some big ones. But actually a company I didn't really know anything about, I personally do not follow this company at all, do not know anything about it, was Expedia. Right. I think after they had their earnings, I think their stock, Steven, what did they go down, like 20% or something that day?
2% that day, yeah.
Yeah, so if you scroll down if you look at Expedia, we have some of the color filtered up here on why. And it looks like we did post a lot of different price targets from some firms while also posting some of the color. So for example, if we look at UBS, looks like they maintained their buy in Expedia, lowered their price target to 142. And I believe the stock went to 120 that day, Steven, or the 120 range. So it went down over 20%.
Yeah, it hit hard, yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. It looks like UBS, they maintained buy, they lowered their target a little bit. So what did they say? Why? If I didn't know anything about this stock, could I read over any of this color, whether from UBS or Raymond James, figure out, okay, what's going on? I don't know anything about this name. What can I see? So in this UBS note, you see the company, painted a disappointing short-term picture of slower unit growth, mix of traffic, macro, and competitive dynamics with disappointing margin performance. And they continue to talk about how the firm as a whole is their preferred play in the travel space. But in order for the stock to return to outperformance, they need to see some more things. And actually what I'll do once in a while, if I decide that I'm not able to quickly convey everything important, from a note, I actually do add some things in the body of the note as well. So if you click on the second Expedia UBS note, you'll be able to see, okay, well, what do they need to do in order for UBS to feel more confident to return them to outperform? In order of importance, sustain DD percentage room night growth, especially at VRBO, shift in marketing dollars in favor of direct traffic, operating leverage, and sustain high levels of SH returns.
So when you're going through an analyst rating like this, what are the key words that raise your red flags in your head and say, okay, this is something I've got to write about?
So some of the key words, what I'm really, really looking for in these reports, and I do try to read over as many as I can, I'm trying to find ideally sort of an unhedged opinion or something that says something, not just adjusting a model that might cause a share target price to change a little bit. That stuff's great for I'm sure some of our users and a lot of them in general, but I really, really, really just want a clear and concise reason for why they did what they did that can be broken down into a few sentences. So I'm going to just look at it and say, okay, because these reports are very, very long in some cases.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
you know what? I'm really glad that you mentioned that because actually when I first started, that was one of the things I thought. I was like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a whole bunch of these analyst reports and I'm going to do my homework and I'm going to know more than everyone else. And very quickly I learned that that is not necessarily feasible because these reports are long and there is a lot of information in there and it's very easy to miss some of that information. So what you've done here where you've taken out highlights and then added more color, this is so easy for me to read and understand and see at a glance. This is actually fantastic. This makes it so much easier to process this wealth of information that comes in these reports. So this is fantastic. Is there another example, or that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, sure. So another example that I'm sure our users are also aware of, let's look at the Walt Disney Company, DIS.
Okay.
So essentially Disney, if we scroll back a little bit, there is some color actually today on Disney because they have Disney Plus and launching tomorrow, I believe. But if we actually look back a little bit further for when they posted earnings, their stock, how much did their stock go up, Steven? Like what was the level before they had earnings? Like what was it, 130-ish or something?
135, I thought. Yeah, right around there. Yeah.
And at one point it went to like what, 140 in the after hour session?
Crazy, yeah. Popped.
Yeah. So certain things, so for Disney on that day, so this is Friday morning, I posted some color comments. So at Benzinga, we do not enter in, if there's no price target change or there's no change to like an analyst rating, we do not enter that into our calendar. But at the same time, if I see a note from Morgan Stanley, like we're looking at here, they're just reiterating like their rating and their previous target, I still think that's really, really valuable to know, especially if they're at like a target like they are here, which is 160 and the stock was, I'm not sure what it is now, probably in the 130s-ish or whatever, but Morgan Stanley, I'd want to know what they had to say. So basically right here, they say, oh, we're reiterating our overweight, 160 target on Disney, noting, what does that say? Like less than a week away from the Disney Plus launch, Disney wrapped up fiscal year 19 with adjusted EPS expectations, led by studio and lower DTC losses with parks broadly in line. So you kind of have an idea of their core, different aspects of their business, like what kind of happened versus expectations. You have no idea. And they also note the things I like to try to find is some just unique things to a company. So the next line from Morgan Stanley, they note our updated AlphaWise surveys points to increased consumer enthusiasm for Disney Plus. And I'm sure in their reports they really, really broke that down. But I wanted to show that to users so that they had an idea for what consumers actually thought of this product ahead of their launch. Because it's important to know, I'm sure Steve will talk about more, if you're a trader or an investor, you're probably making a story based on certain catalysts. And you're obviously going to think independently, but you're also probably curious, which I'm sure Steven's going to touch on a little bit more here in a second, about like, what did the analysts say? Does it confirm my thesis? Does it go against my thesis? Why or what? Why not?
Right. I mean, for McDonald's, we'll go back there first. For MCD, they reported bad earnings, but the analysts also the same thing that I thought my thesis was the growth prospects for them. And I think that's what's important for traders is growth, right? And so I saw in one of the analyst ratings and reports including what Disney said themselves, or McDonald's said themselves, was that they were going to increase their number of restaurants by 600. That's big growth. That's a lot of new restaurants that are coming down the pipe. So for me, that was a good reason to the stock not to completely continue to sell off. In the case of Disney, DIS, you're right. The analyst ratings kept saying Disney Plus, Disney Plus. In fact, I actually went out and bought Disney Plus for myself, my household. And so, I think that there are a lot of us out there that saw that analyst rating and said, okay, they're also confirming my thesis that Disney is not stopping. They're going to continue. McDonald's isn't going to stop. They're going to continue to grow. And so I think pulling out those little nuggets out of the analyst ratings are very important. A lot of times, analyst ratings, when they downgrade something, they're very negative, right? They're, not sure they're going to continue to grow. They're not spending enough money on, like I always say, R&D. That's always important to us. I always look for the little nuggets to tell you, hey, where is the growth within this company? Andrew, I really think that we really appreciate you at Benzinga. We think the world of you being here because you literally live this, sleep, eat, and breathe analyst ratings, and I can't think of anybody better to be on Team Benzinga.
Of course. That's what's great here about being at Benzinga. Like, we all love stocks and we're all super, super passionate about it. It's very nice, I think, in life to be able to wake up and be excited to go to work. As we all know, the markets are never boring, regardless of what you're looking at. There's always new things to look at every single day. And at least for analyst research, I just want to try to we get all these great reports from lots of different companies. I just want to do my best to try to summarize the information for the user so they can understand what the analysts thought about whatever stock that they're looking at. And I do the best that I can every morning, even though I probably drink way too much caffeine. That's okay for right now. Okay.
Well, and Andrew, I'll just chime in here. First of all, I want to say that I'm not sure that there is such a thing as too much coffee, but that's just me. So I'll just say that. And as from another power user or power pro tip here that I wanted to discuss with you guys, as you were telling me earlier about how you definitely want to hear things from the Morgan Stanley analyst. If there are a customer out there that is really a particular analyst firm is really important to them, you can also use the newsfeed just like we have here to search for that. So I was looking in your example here about UBS, and I thought to myself, what if I wanted to know about the color from UBS? Well, you listed in each stock here. We've already got it filtered by Disney. If I type in UBS and then I select keyword so that I'm not selecting the symbol of another ticker, if I select keyword UBS, lo and behold, look, those two UBS price targets that we were just discussing have now been filtered there. I can actually do the exact same thing for Morgan Stanley. All I have to do is type in keyword Morgan, and sure enough, the Morgan Stanley color notes that you were discussing are just right there at the top, easy for me to see. So really awesome. Like I said, I really enjoy this. Would it be okay if we typed in like update, for example? Would that be a good keyword for them to see your different color on?
Yes, that would be an option to see color for ratings that have like a rating change. The problem with maybe doing just update on its own, you might not see those reiterations because I only do updates for a ticker that we posted into the system to be on the feed and on the calendar. So in order for that to happen, it has to be an upgrade, a downgrade, or initiation, or something that has a price target change. So right here, you're going to see like ratings that have those elements into them.
Awesome. And there is a pro tip right from the source. Cannot do any better than that. So gentlemen, this has been an excellent video. I love this stuff. I love analyst ratings. I think that this drives the point home. Is there anything left, anything else that you two want to add as a closing thought here?
Nope.
No, we're from Chicago, Ryan. I just wanted to say the Cubs rock, the Cardinals not so much. So take it easy, Steven.
How about that? All right, guys. Thanks very much for this informative video. Really appreciate it. As always, if you out there in Zingerland have any questions, any concerns, want help on anything like this, or have any questions about some of the tools that we have, please reach out to me. You can reach me by phone, email, or chat. Steve is always accessible during the day. And as you can see by this panel here, we love having fun. We love this stuff. So if you have questions about it, do not hesitate. Reach out to us. We will do the best that we can to help. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Steve. And until next time, Zingers, happy trading.